Yeah, check 1 2, check 1 2. Is this mic on? Is this mic on? Hey, listen, man. It's the one and only trendsetter DJ Sense, and you're listening to CockTales. Dirty discussions with Kiki and Medinah Monroe. Yeah.
Today's cocktail is called First Date Fuel. This cocktail should give you the energy to put on your makeup even though you might waste it if the date's not good. It fuels you for your date that you might not want to go on, but you also don't want to be lonely. So first you need some gin. Any gin will do because you just need the energy. You're going to put 1 little shot of gin. You're going to take your orange liqueur, whichever brand you like. This is a pretty popular brand, the Grand Gala. I always see it at restaurants. And you're going to put a half of the other side of the jigger in there. And then you're going to put some ice in your shaker. I already did. Add a little splash of lime juice to give it a little bit more zest. 2 little squirts will suffice. Shake it up in your shaker until it gets nice and cold. And after it's nice and cold, if you can get your lid off, you should take the whole lid off, but I couldn't get it off. So for time's sake, we'll strain it in. It's more like a martini. I have a few little ice cubes in here. I don't want to touch them, so I'll just pour them in there. And we're going to top it off with this new energy drink, Goat Fuel. Just a splash. And this is date fuel. The energy you need to go on that date, even if you don't want to. I'm going on a date. Bye.
Welcome back to CockTales Dirty Discussions, you guys. I hope you wanted more episodes of CockTales because here we are. How are you today?
I'm doing great. You know, it feels really different recording on a Saturday, but a good different. Because it brings you like a little bit of extra zest.
It's very early in the day.
It is.
Because we usually record in the evening. So it's early in the day. We still have our day after this. It's not like we're going to go home and go to sleep and be tired in the end. So it's nice to feel more energized.
And it's really exciting because we're recording on a Saturday because we have a very special guest. You guys hear me talk about Paradise and Vibe a lot. On those trips, we have different people come in and work workshops. They lead workshops and teach us all types. And this last retreat that we had in Fiji, we had Kemi Nekvapil. And y'all, I fell in love with her. We was crying in the workshops, hugging on each other and learning how to ask for stuff. Make some noise for Kemi Nekvapil. The author of The Gift of Asking. Hey, Kemi.
Hi, Medinah. Hi, Kiki. So nice to be here with you both.
So happy to have you here all the way from Australia.
All the way from, your accents are so...
Do I sound Australian?
No.
That sounds something.
Something different. Something different than your normal voice. And it's interesting for me now because I'm English, but I've been in Australia for over 20 years. So the English people can hear the Australian and the Australian can hear the English.
It's something about the R's.
Yeah. And also the consonants. The Australians don't I now say water instead of water.
Oh.
Kind of like Atlanta. That's how Atlanta. That's what a lot of people
Atlanta,
say. They skip the T.
They skip the T.
Short words.
Just drop them.
How do you say this word? R-E-C-O-R-D.
Record.
Record.
Did you just make me say that so you can say it again?
She's trying to perfect her accent.
I am trying to get good. Yeah. How are you liking Atlanta?
I've only been here for a day.
True.
But I didn't know that much about Atlanta before I came. I didn't want to know because I knew I was going to be meeting you and various other friends. And as someone that loves gardens and nature, the first thing I noticed was the stunning trees. That was the first thing I noticed.
That's what everyone always says. Isn't it beautiful?
It's beautiful. And I was like, so many oaks, so many pines. Yeah, beautiful. So I'm going to be here for a few more days. So I'm going to actually get to explore a little bit more. But so far, I'm very happy to be here.
Maybe you can make it to the botanical gardens. We have a beautiful one in Midtown.
Okay, maybe. Can you run around the botanical? In Australia, we can run around the botanical gardens because then I could combine two things.
I actually don't
Well, it's
know.
like by Piedmont
If you're not
Park.
sure, I won't do it.
Well, it's like in the middle of Piedmont Park. I don't know if you can just run through without, because I think you have to pay to get in there. Yeah. That's the thing.
I don't want to break laws.
But I
you
guess
can go in
technically, if
there.
you go in there and just want to start jogging, you could.
But
people
they
might
have
be
a
looking like,
playground
might look at you.
And a restaurant in there.
Yeah.
I've been just for lunch. There's a cute little
nice.
place. I think it's called The Leaf.
Okay.
And you can see all of the plants and the
that's
trees.
so
And then
good.
they have the kids' playground a little further away, so they're not being
In your
noisy.
face. That's great. Yeah.
I love it.
Mike?
Oh, I was like,
Me
huh?
or Kemi?
Oh.
Oh, pull it closer to you.
Yeah, you'll
Is that
want to
good?
talk.
Okay.
She's like, so you said you're here for a couple of days, and you don't know anything about it. I want to know what you think about the food when you try some. Have you eaten yet?
I have only eaten. I have just been to Fellini's.
No, the
raw,
vegan place.
The vegan raw reality
Tasali's. That's what it's called.
Are you a vegan?
Yes.
Okay, well, never mind.
I have just
so we can't even take you to get no soul food.
So you can't, no. But when I was in New York, there is a soul food place in New York called Cadence. It's a vegan soul food place. So I'm planning to go there on the other side. But I just went to, is it Tasali's?
Tasali's. I think I'm saying it right. Tasali's or Tasali's?
No, I don't know.
Stunning like wrap of life. So I'm going to call it their OG kale wrap. But it was beautiful. So that's what I've had so far.
Sounds
That's all I've had so far.
Atlanta has a lot of good food.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of vegan restaurants. There might be some vegan soul food places. I think that there are. I'm not crazy about Atlanta soul food, but I do love a bunch of different restaurants. But I'm also not
There's
vegan.
bar
so I
vegan
don't
and
have-
slutty vegan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to bar.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
It's
Bar
a little
vegan.
turned up now, just so you know.
Okay.
You're going there today?
Not today. I
tomorrow.
have my boyfriend's sister's birthday
You need
dinner
to
is
tell me,
tonight.
what does turned up mean?
Like a DJ.
Oh, great.
And this little.
It's
turn up.
lively.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
lively. I can
Yeah.
do lively.
That's a good
Yeah.
way to put
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
It's
like
good in
I feel
there.
like that's I feel like Medinah, that's code for something else.
I think she's thinking that you might not
I
like
am
it, but if
reading
you're
between the
open,
lines, I am reading.
she's like, yeah,
I'm-
it's not gonna be like a twerk fest in there over your
Yeah.
food or anything. It's
Okay.
not like
Oh, then I
some
don't
of the
wanna go.
American. See, she wants to do stuff.
If it's not
You're
a
thinking
twerk
she
fest
doesn't want to do it, and
over
she's
my
like,
food.
no, I want to see it. I need to have the Atlanta experience. Maybe after they have a few shots of tequila, because they do have a full bar, maybe
Okay.
you will get a little twerking
Twerking.
over.
You
and
never
over your
know.
fake
It's
ass.
Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't wait to learn more about the gift of asking. I think that this is going to be a very timely episode. But we're going to ask you some questions first. We have a game that we created called I'm Curious to Know, because we like to ask other people questions, maybe not ask for what we want, but sneak in some questions. So if you guys are interested, you can purchase I'm Curious to Know by going to I'mCuriousToKnow.com, and we're going to play with Kemi. So first question I have is, what was your hardest friendship breakup?
Oh, my hardest friendship breakup was with a friend that became a mum at the same time that I became a mum.
We just talked, well, not we became a mom, but something similar.
Okay, yeah. And it was noticing that, well, she had said to me, I feel like I can't be my full self around you. And we had a really hard but beautiful conversation about that, I thought. But then I realized that I was then dumbing myself down when I was with her so that she didn't feel that she couldn't be herself around me. So then it just became really weird. And then she moved to another state in Australia, and she said to me, you're the only person that won't kill my plants, because, you know, I love plants. So she handed me her plants, and that was great. And then I never really saw her again.
Oh my goodness.
But it was, I then wrote her a letter, and I said, I thanked her for all the incredible years of friendship, that I would not have been the mum that I had become if it wasn't for her, that we really mothered each other's mothering. And I was thankful and grateful, and I understood that we had to let this friendship go, and I had no hard feelings, and that was it.
Very classy. Just the
Very
fact that you wrote a
mature.
letter.
I wanted to, even though it was painful, because basically I had been let, and I've done a lot of writing about this, that in life we have to know that we will be let go of, and that we have to let go of people.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we understand this, then we can actually add some grace to it, and we can thank the people that were part of that season of our lives. You know, nothing happened bad. No, there was no betrayal or anything. It was just it was, you know, I love the phrase, a reason, a lifetime. That people are either in our lives for one of those three things. And it's good. We don't always know if it's a season or a reason or a lifetime, but once it's ended, we can just be thankful that they're in our lives and next chapter.
That's such a beautiful way to end a friendship. I wish mine ended as beautiful as that.
Okay, you've got an opportunity for the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is, I'm curious to know, how do you feel about traditional gender roles in a relationship?
Nah.
That's the
Next
next
question.
So you're like, to don't.
I'm not up for traditional gender roles. I'm up for the roles that work in the relationship.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Depending on who the person is, their skills, and what those two people agree is what's workable within their relationship. I'm 100% for that. But anything that is put onto us of how it should be, I am not a fan of.
I love how that was answered.
I feel you. Yeah, even
Period.
your body language changed. It was just like, no, hard, stop, not.
That's right.
And I feel you on that. Okay, what's something that you used to say you'd never be willing to try, but now you're curious?
Oh, tattoos. Remember, this came from Fiji.
Yes.
So I was hoping that I would have had, I just can't work out where to get one done. But I always used to say I would never get a tattoo because I cannot think of anything that I'd want on my body that I then would not grow out of or then regret later on.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm the age that I am, I'm like, whatever. There's nothing on my body that I would have now that I'm going to change so much that I would regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you get a tattoo of?
I want to get a quote here on my forearm, and I'm going to get some magic stars to remind me of Fiji.
Oh,
Of the
you're
paradise
jumping
involved.
out. You're getting
What
a
are magic
forearm.
stars?
Yeah, like if you think about stardust being sprinkled on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want on my hands.
That's what the sky looked like in Fiji.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also it felt like the magic and being there with Elizabeth Gilbert, big
Mhm.
magic. And because I write, I think when you write, you're creating magic with your fingers. So it just kind of ticked a lot of boxes for me.
That's beautiful.
But I've worked out that getting a tattoo is not just like going and getting a tattoo. There are particular artists that can do particular fonts, that do fine line and do. So suddenly I'm thrown into this world. But that is the thing that I thought I'd never do that I'm now ready.
And they have some amazing tattoo artists right here if you start feeling like
Okay,
you're ready
well, I'm
to
happy.
take the
I just need
lead.
someone to tell me where I'm going and
what to do.
And also the reason I didn't get it done in Fiji was because we were around beautiful water, and apparently once you get a tattoo done, you can't be in water. And I thought, well, that's
I'm going to get in the water.
yeah, I'm here. I'm going to get in the water.
There's also a place that I found. It's either in Little Five Points or Edgewood. I'll look it up before you go, but they will do really nice temporary tattoos that will last a bit longer. Like you can shower and stuff. It's not henna. It's like semi-permanent. So it lasts a while. So maybe if you're not sure if you want to commit, you could
That
get
sounds
that.
great.
And then eventually it'll fade away. I thought about getting one time on my arm. I don't have any on my arms, but I do have 2 tattoos.
Yeah.
And I love them, but I was like, I wonder how that would look. I
Yeah.
have commitment issues.
I like that. I like that.
Okay, here's another one for me. I'm curious to know, how do you feel about marriage?
I am married. I've been married for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was never going to get married. So there's something I didn't think I was going to do, but did end up doing.
Uh-huh.
I have just read an incredible book called Liars by an author called Sarah Mangusto, which is chillingly painful about what it can be in a heterosexual relationship if the man is not willing to do the work. I know that if I wasn't married to my husband, we probably still wouldn't be together. But I also have a lot of questions about the institution of marriage. And actually, I need to say, my husband would not say that we wouldn't be together if we weren't married. But I know that actually saying those vows made a really big difference for me. But I also know that I could live a great life if I had never got married as well. Yeah.
Did you write your own vows or did you do the traditional
No,
ones?
we didn't do we did traditional within my husband's kind of family kind of rituals. We did those vows. Yeah.
Okay. My next question is, do you believe in soul ties?
I don't know what they are.
Oh.
Is that like soulmate?
Do you know how to explain what a soul tie is?
So, not exactly. So it's like where it's similar to a soulmate, but maybe that person isn't supposed to be there. There's a link. A lot of times people will say that when you have sex with someone, it creates a soul tie because you're forever, it's something there.
Yeah, there's
that's
something
tying
there.
you to
You've
the
exchanged
person.
energy.
And then some people feel like that doesn't matter. And then some people are like, well, if you use a condom, it's kind of blocking that connection. So, you know, just curious. But you don't even know about
Well,
that.
no, I didn't. But going with that, I was always someone that very much felt that if I slept with someone, I'm leaving a part of myself with them. And is that person worthy of me leaving part of myself with? So that's my answer.
That is an important question to ask yourself when you're thinking about going that far with somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my last one. I'm curious to know, who is your celebrity crush?
Oh my gosh, I have so many.
Me too, girl.
I don't even know where to start, and I can jump between the sexes too. Like I was just talking about Idris Elba just earlier, so let's just
He's
go.
everybody's
Idris.
first.
He's
is
a
he?
handsome man. That is a handsome,
He is
handsome man. And the
Tilda
accent?
Swinton is a stunning woman.
Who?
You know Tilda
I don't know
Swinton.
who
She's an
that
English
is.
actress.
Tell me her name. I want to Google
Tilda
it.
Swinton.
Tilda.
But like kind of more her mind, I think. Like, there's so many beautiful women, so many beautiful
I have
men.
seen her.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen
Yeah.
her.
She's a great actress.
don't know what
Oh
I've
my
seen her.
gosh, I know that she's controversial apparently right now, but I have to say Blake Lively.
I love Blake Lively.
Watching It Ends With Us, like for the first 20 minutes of the film, I was like, I don't even know if I can concentrate on the plot.
She's beautiful.
This woman is so and she actually reminds me of a very dear friend of mine. So that's the other thing. And I called my friend. I was like, I had no idea that you look like her, but I don't fancy you, but I do fancy her. So I just need to kind of put that.
I want to see that movie. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either.
But I read the book.
I think it's yes. See, it's interesting. I felt that the movie was so. You could tell the writing in the movie that it made me want to read the book. So normally it's the other way around. People read the book and it's like the movie's never that good. But I was like, this movie has such great script. The writing of the book has to be incredible. So it's on my list of 8,000 books that I have to read. But
that's a long list. Kiki, do you have another one?
No, that was it.
Okay, so we're going to break really quick for Weird Sex. When we come back, we're diving into the gift of asking with Kemi Nekvapil.
You said a man is not a necessity, a man is a luxury.
Like dessert. Yeah. Man is absolutely not necessity.
Did you mean that to sound mean and bitter?
Oh, not at all. I adore dessert. I love men. I think men are the coolest. But you don't really need them to live.
Okay. So speaking of asking, sometimes I know that men will go to their doctors and ask their doctors for those little blue pills when they are having trouble with the blood flow to keep it up. But let me tell you guys about this wild story that one of our listeners DM'd me. And I was like, is this real? It was. So this guy goes to the doctor. He's complaining about knee pain, actually. He wasn't asking for the blue pills, but you'll get why I brought that up in a second. So he's going to the doctor and he's complaining about knee pain. And so the doctor tells him to go to hospital. They're doing all of these x-rays, trying to find the source of the pain. So they figure out that something's going on in his pelvic region. Upon further inspection, he is growing bone, like literal bone, in his penis. Is not supposed to be there. You know, blood is what makes it hard. And now he's got a literal boner. And there have been less than 40 cases on record of this. And it's a really rare condition.
Can they remove it?
I don't know.
The bone.
I don't know that he even asked them to remove it. He probably asked for a little painkiller and was like, well, I'm going to call it a day. I hope that his wife is up for this new challenge, and y'all need to be very careful because you can definitely break this one. But he hasn't asked to get it removed, but they're trying to understand more. There's not a lot of data on this because it is such a rare instance. And I'm just like, I'm going to have to keep following the story to see what happens with this man. But they showed the x-ray and he was having bone come up. It was like coming up like a little triangle. And so I'm like, good thing this didn't happen to him in middle school, because could you imagine being a middle school student and constantly having it poke out? You'd have to be like the girls when your period comes and you got to tie the jacket around your waist, but he would need a fanny pack and then that's going to be sticking out. Now it's like you got a fupa, but it's not a fupa. It's something else. But anyway, I thought that was weird, and I think it's going to be weird and interesting when and if he does choose to have sex with his wife. I will be updating you guys if there is an update to come, because that's so crazy.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
At what rate is the bone growing? Do we know?
They don't know. So the only thing I've seen, the report was he was having pain for a couple of weeks. So he finally gets into the doctor. The doctor tells him immediately, you need to go to the hospital. He goes to the hospital same day. And so they see the bone. And that's as far as it's been. Okay. So you'll have to tune in for the update. Probably the time your episode comes out, hopefully there is one, because this is wild.
That is wild.
But that's it for Weird Sex, you guys. Keep DMing me these weird and interesting stories. And if you have your own weird sex experience, like one of our listeners had a couple weeks ago, please send that to me as well. I really appreciate it. And now we will get back to Kemi.
Okay, you guys. So Kemi wrote this amazing book called The Gift of Asking. And I would like for you to kind of summarize what the gift of asking entails for our listeners. I read the book. If you guys haven't read the book, by the end of this episode, you will want to read the book, because I've also been applying this whole gift of asking to my life that I didn't even know that I needed, but clearly I didn't even ask you what I needed to ask you when you were sitting here and I didn't make you no drink. So, tell our listeners what the gift of asking is about.
The gift of asking, I wrote the book because I had very much been someone that was kind of, had given myself the badge of being very independent and not needing anybody and something. And what I found after a period of time was that actually being independent and doing everything yourself can be really lonely.
Yes.
And then coupling that with how women are generally socialized, which is that we have to be available to other people all the time. And that is how we are valued. And so, women that call themselves people pleasers, it's kind of part of this idea of what a real woman is, what a good woman is, a good wife, a good daughter, a good sister, a good friend, that we give and we give and we give and we give. And yet if we're constantly giving, there's no space for us to ask to have our needs met as well. Now, I actually don't fall into the kind of people, I don't call myself a people pleaser, but I definitely fell into I will do life on my own because then I can count on myself to get the stuff done that I need to get done. But then it had me feel, isolated and lonely, and this resonated with me.
Yes, very much so. Because I was like, I'm so excited to talk to her because I haven't read the book yet. I'm going to recommend it in my book club. But I was like, I want to talk to you first and then read the book.
Okay, yeah. So that was the basis of me. That was the basis of me writing the book. So then as a professional keynote speaker, I would ask audiences, who in this room, if they have the resources, whether it's financial, emotional, whatever it is, if you have the resources and someone in your life needs help or support and asks you for it, will you give it? Raise your hand. Yes. Everyone in the audience always puts their hand up, whether it's 500 people in the room or 5,000 people in the room. When I then ask, and who in this room likes asking for help or who asks for help, in a room of 500 people, maybe 5 people will put their hand up. In a room of 5,000, maybe 10. So then for me as an executive and personal coach, that's a real mismatch. So we know as human beings that we want to give and we want to contribute to people, yet no one is asking to be given or contributed to. So then what are the impacts of that? People are resentful, they're angry, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they're burnt out, they're disconnected. So many impacts from not asking for what it is that we need and want. And I love that you enjoyed the book and I love that you're applying it. I wrote this book many years ago now compared to my latest book, Power. And I still get emails and I still have conversations. And I'm still on my own asking journey. What I've learned is that you get used to asking for certain things that you weren't used to before. And then you find yourself in another chapter of life or another person or another situation. And then you have to kind of, practice the asking muscle again. But I found that this idea of asking is an absolute gift. And there's always something that we need to ask for.
And there sure is. I mean, you just read me down because that's that is me. I am you, who you used to be.
We are one. We are together.
Why do you think that asking for help is so difficult?
I sort of state them in the book. I ask many audiences and different clients. So there are various reasons why people don't ask for help. They don't want to appear weak. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to feel indebted. So like if I ask for help, then it's a transactional thing. They're kind of the main ones. Not feeling weak, not looking like we have it all together, not being a burden, it being transactional, being greedy, getting a no, so being rejected. And sometimes people don't ask because you might get a yes. Because so let's just look at it within the work context. If you ask for the promotion and you get it, then you got to work hard. Then you got to really work. I thought you'd say no.
I've been late every Wednesday. Okay, you really gave it
exactly. To me. Or if you ask someone, I think I share this story in the book, working with a client who had come out of a relationship, and it's one of those relationships. Well, we've all been in them. The relationship is officially over, but it is so not energetically over, and maybe you're still hooking up and various things. So this was happening in this client's relationship. And she said, I just don't know whether it's over or if it's over, or if it's actually, And I just said, what are you not willing to do? And she said, I'm not willing to ask him. And I said, what will happen if you ask him? She said, well, then I'll be rejected. And I said, yes, you will definitely feel a sense of rejection and you will also know reality. Because until then, you're in this limbo. So then she decided that she would ask him, and the question that she asked him was, is this a no for now or a no forever? And he said it's a no forever.
Oof.
So then she could which was a gift to her, because then she could put the boundary in place. No more hooking up, okay? I'm not ready for us to be friends. I'm not now, even though it was painful and she had to go through the loss that we all do when a relationship ends, at least she actually knew where she stood.
No gray
As opposed to
area.
this limbo land of in, out, are we? Because energetically, there's no space for either of them to meet anyone else. There's no space for them to create a friendship if that's what's going to happen. So there are so many reasons why we don't ask, but I would say they're the key reasons.
I'll add another one. A lot of people say that it's a trauma response to asking at some point, usually childhood, because that's where everything starts, right? And maybe your parents or somebody else disappointing you by not doing what they said that they would do. So then you end up having this, I'll do it myself, or I'm not asking anybody, because that disappointment and the fear of rejection, like you mentioned, is too much. Yeah. And you don't want to go back to that. So it's just like, I'll do it myself.
That's right. And that's exactly what we spoke about a lot in Fiji at the Paradise and Vibe retreat, was that for so many people, they had asked as children and either their ask had been mocked, or they'd been gaslighted. You don't need that. Or I've just given you, just take that instead. Or they felt they weren't heard or seen. Or they were given the thing, but then they were punished for it, not necessarily physically punished, sometimes physically punished, depending on the culture which you grew up in. Yeah. But it could just be snide comments from your parents. So then that's so painful. So you feel like you're being cast out by the people that you count on. So then why would you ask for anything if your actual sense of belonging is going to be questioned? So there are many reasons why people don't ask. And you're right, it does start in childhood as well.
One thing I'd hate to see when I'm out, I don't have any kids, but there have been times when I'm out and you see people be like, when we go in the store, you better not ask for anything. And it's like, what? We don't have to set that tone. You can ask for it. You might not get it. But you want those little babies to exercise their wants and their needs and their voice. Like that's just so, my niece asked for everything. And I'm just looking like, wow, look at the freedom in you. Even a stranger, she'll just go up and be like, can I have this? And
the thing is that some strangers just go, it's not a problem. My youngest would be exactly the same. And I think and actually I learned a lot from just watching them and how they would ask. And I talk about that in the book. Sometimes we need to ask like a child. A child will say, can I have an ice cream? Can I have an ice cream? No. Can I have an ice cream? No. Can I have an ice cream? And they wear you down. And
they
you
do?
Just, and you're just like, just have the ice cream.
Because why did I say no anyway? Whatever.
Exactly. And sometimes it is the lesson is actually, no, you can't have an ice cream. I said no, and no is no. But there are many, I mean, look, I am a parent. I've got older kids now, but there are many ways that we unintentionally give messages to our children that actually aren't great for our children. How they can say, I feel sick. No, you don't. I'm hungry. No, you're not. I just fed you. And it's like both things can be true. The child can have just be fed and the child can still be hungry. But every time we tell them that their intuition and their truth is not their truth, once again, it has them not trust themselves. So then how can you trust your needs and what to ask for?
Let me tell y'all a little story real quick, because I've been reading The Gift of Asking and I'm like, okay, there's moments where I'm like, oh, I should do this. I was at Chipotle yesterday and the little honey vinaigrette. Do they have Chipotle in?
No, but I know it.
The honey vinaigrette is good.
It's so good. And so I got 2 burritos, one for me, one for Bae. I got 2 honey. I was like, can I get 2 of the honey vinaigrettes? The girl was like, she gave me the honey vinaigrette. And I kid you not, the thing is like this big, the container. It was about this much honey vinaigrette in it. So I was like, dang, that's not enough for one bite. I was thinking that in my head. And I was like, could I please get another honey vinaigrette? She was like, no. And I was like, first of all, she was rude. I was like, well,
why?
Yeah, why can I not have another one? She was like, we only give 1 for burritos and then 2 for if you get a salad. So I was like, okay, well, so she gave me my drink. I go get my drink. I come back and I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. This is really unacceptable. I need another honey vinaigrette. And she ended up giving it to me.
There you go.
And you felt good for
I
asking.
did feel good. I was like,
I would say that wasn't so much an ask, more of a statement.
I need.
But it worked.
Well, the point was I was going to walk away without
being disappointed, without even thinking
trying
to
again.
Ask.
Like, y'all.
Right.
And I'm surprised that they weren't like, well, I can give it to you, but I have to charge you.
That's
If it was my business, that's what I would have done.
It's like 100%, that's $8, thanks.
Something. Anyways, so what inspired you to write the book?
Because I work with different clients, I just noticed a theme. I just noticed a theme that whenever whether it's personal or professional life, that there would be something around they would get to a certain point where they had an awareness of what was working or what was not working, and then they had to ask for the thing. And I just noticed that they would stop. So as a coach, I'm working with different people, different age groups, different industries, but I noticed themes. It's how I wrote Power. It was around where and how do we give our power away and why, because I was noticing themes amongst women. And so that was the thing for me. I thought there's something about asking. And then it had me look back, kind of what I've shared about my history, had me look back to think, well, what's been my relationship to asking? It's like, actually, I decided that I was just going to be like a one-woman unit who would make sure that I looked after myself entirely. And then what had been the impact of that, of the loneliness and just feeling, and also creating this thing not only of like, I'll look after myself, I can back myself. What that created then was that when I did ask my friends for something, they didn't really know how to help me because I'd created the dynamic that I don't need help.
Give the example. Can you give an example of asking a question like that?
Actually, I can give an example of when I had my flat in London, I would do really, if I say so for myself, great roof parties, right?
Okay.
I had a beautiful flat. And the first year I was there, I had a friend stay with me, just a really dear friend who was like lodging with me. And I had my party. And the morning of my party, I was crying outside her bedroom, not on purpose. It was a small flat. There was nowhere else to cry. And so she heard me, she said, what's wrong? It's your birthday. And I was like, no one's helped me. I've done the cooking. I've done the decorations. I sent out the invitations. And I was just like, she goes, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll help you. And that was fine. We had the party. And that was it. Following year, this friend had gone overseas. Another friend had moved in, was lodging with me. And same thing. I wasn't picking up a theme, but anyway, same thing. Crying, morning of my birthday, same thing again. I said, no one's helped me. I had to do it all. And she said, I'm really sorry. Let me help you. And then the third year, my sister was living with me. And I was crying or annoyed or something. She goes, what is wrong with you? And I said, this is what I'd noticed again was my resentment and my anger. But I hadn't noticed that I was the common denominator. So I was like, once again, I'm the one that's had to do my birthday. I did the cake. I did the baking. I did this. And she looked me dead in the eyes and she just said, number one, you never ask for help. Number two, when you do, it's never good enough. So why would anyone help you?
It's always going to be the sister to call you out and get you right.
Always.
But I love it.
Always. And it was...
Were you looking at her like... Oh.
It was... not at the time.
At the time, he was mad.
I think there were more tears that came on my birthday. But it was a really good gift. Because it was true. It was. I knew that is very true. If people help me, they have to help me in the way that I want the help, not in their unique gift and how they can contribute. If they help, I used to try and control how they helped. So then, that's not enjoyable for anybody. You know, we actually want to contribute who we are to people. We don't want to contribute what people think we should be to them.
Yeah.
That's a word.
Yeah.
So can we go back into how you got to that point? Can we talk about your childhood and what that was like and maybe how it led you to being the person that you were during these flat years and the bad birthday parties?
Oh, well, I very much, I think most of us learn in our childhood, I shouldn't say most, but many of us learn in our childhoods that to ask was a burden. So I was very much had that thing of me asking was a burden, kind of what you shared, like don't ask when you come into the shop. So every time if I thought to ask for anything, I was always put down. There's only so much of that you can take as a child because you just kind of realize, and for me, I was very much socialized, be a good girl. So then anything that had me not be a good girl suddenly put me in kind of fight and fright. Well, not fight, actually, just fright. What was it? Fawn, freeze. That's probably what I would do. I'd either just be silent or I would just kind of try and be nicer and try and be more good. So then I didn't really ask for anything for a very, very long time. So then by the time I got to my sisters, you know, kind of, what would you call it? Punch in the guts, maybe? Prophecy, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. By the time I got there, I'd set up such a culture for myself of do not ask anyone for anything because it will cost you. It will hurt you. And you're not going to hurt yourself. Like, you know, I know a lot of people have self-sabotage and things. That's not something that for me personally, I'm not someone that self-sabotage. I might procrastinate on something, but I don't have kind of self-sabotage. So I knew for myself, okay, and because what I was aware of actually at that point was actually how lonely I felt. You know, there's something in the reality is that we are tribal creatures. We need community. We need other people around us. So once we have this narrative of I'm going to go it alone, it's only going to go one way. And that's that sense, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, isolation and burnout.
Not asking really is not healthy.
It's not.
No, it's not. And the thing is what some people say about the rejection thing, I'm 100%, but the reality is that everyone that's like alive has received at least one no in their lifetime. And we are upset or angry or whatever, or we grieve or the loss, and then we move on to the next thing. Like no is not the worst thing. In fact, no can sometimes be great because it gives us the information we need to make the next step. Because like with that limbo, situation I was saying, if you don't have a clear answer to what it is that you're asking for, it is really hard to know what you're going to do next.
I really liked how when we were in Fiji with Paradise and Vibe in the workshop, you gave another example similar to your personal one, but it was just like an example of how someone would ask for help and then the person might be confused on like, do you need, what's wrong with you? Like, so what Kemi did was like, okay, we were role playing.
Okay.
You need someone to watch your kids. And she was like, you were like, okay, hey, I have a concert to go to on Saturday night, and I would really like it if you could watch the kids from Friday to Saturday. And I'll pay you if you want to be paid, but also if you can't watch them, then that's totally fine. I just won't go to the concert, and I'll ask somebody else to watch them. And it was like, and I felt attacked because I have definitely asked questions like that before where you're like, I have a dog. I'll ask my brother, like, do you mind watching Shy? I'm going out of town. I know it's last minute. If you can't watch her, it's okay. And I'll ask somebody else.
There's so many, the person that's being asked is going through so many emotions.
Yes, like, so you don't really need to watch
So
it.
it's kind of like, oh, that's nice, you're asking
not?
me. Then you're like, now you don't need me. Now you're kind of punishing me, but I haven't even answered the question yet. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Do you know what? No.
And then you're like, you don't ever watch.
Why do I even ask you? Yeah. And it's like, well, you didn't ask me. Because, and I talk about in the book, the clean and clear ask is, can you look after my dog from here to here?
Period.
That's the end of the ask.
And then accept the answer.
Yeah. And then they can say whatever they say, and then you move on. Yeah.
I am on the receiving end of that a lot with watching my cousin. I have a little cousin who lives here. He's 9 years old. And my aunt, she'll ask me, and sometimes she'll ask me directly. Yeah. Sometimes he calls me. He has a phone. He'll call me or text me and ask me. He asked me to go fishing on a field trip. And I'm like, let me check my schedule and I will get back to you. Yeah. It's not a no.
Yep.
But Monday, check in. And I know he is. But sometimes she'll be like, oh, well, can you watch him? But if you're busy, because I know you said this was going on, then he can just do this. And so I've been accepting that he can just go do that.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
When you
because
do
obviously
present,
it's not about me.
Yeah, and now I'm not feeling guilty. Thank you for that out.
Yeah.
So I need to not give people outs when I really do want them.
When
to
you do,
stuff.
really,
I need to be clear. Like, I really want you.
And then you call back and go, actually, can I look after him?
That is something else.
It is, and it's really interesting because the whole gift of asking, it really is a gift.
It's a gift.
Because it's this vulnerable moment in yourself.
Yeah.
If you're anything like me, where it's like certain things I'm okay with asking. I need a ride somewhere. I need some, okay. But there are some things where it's just like, oh my God, I feel so like almost insecure about asking. But once you get to the point of like, no matter what the answer is, you feel strong.
Yeah.
You feel empowered almost.
Yeah.
Like,
you feel like an adult.
You feel like an adult.
It's like, why am I acting like a kid? Ask.
Like, open your mouth. I've missed out on a lot of opportunities for not just opening your mouth and being like, hey, even when it comes to sometimes in this industry, like needing to barter sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes you can't always just front the money.
Yeah.
There have been several times where I'm like, dang, I wonder if I just like ask, how do y'all feel about like we give y'all some ads and you do this for us, or depending on and then I'm just like, never mind, I'm just not gonna ask it all. And it's like, bro, just ask. If they say no, they say no, and then you'll figure it out.
And then you'll figure it out from there.
Right.
And one thing that I talk about as well is that actually our ability to ask is in correlation to our sense of worthiness. So one thing I always say in the book is that we are always worthy of the ask. The outcome is kind of irrelevant. It's just like, do I believe that I am worthy enough to ask for honey vinaigrette at Chipotle? That's it. Do I believe that I'm worthy enough to say to my friends, that bar or restaurant is really noisy and I find it really stressful trying to listen to everyone speak. We're trying to have a good catch up. Could we go to a quieter place? Like, am I allowed to put my needs? Am I allowed to put my knees on the table? And exactly, so they might go, no, we love that place. And you can, then you decide, and this is the thing, once we ask, we get information, we get feedback. So then you can decide, I love my friends. Actually, it's fine. It'll do. I'll just leave an hour earlier. It's just once it gets really loud, it's too much. Or you decide, you know what, actually, I've done this for 10 years and I actually cannot do this anymore. I'm happy to do a cafe another time or something. But this idea, the other thing what you were saying as well about the asking and missing out on opportunities, so many of us are waiting for some, I don't know who this person is, who's going to come and say to us one day, you are worthy of all the things that you want. I don't know who this person is that's coming, but people have this, I'm waiting to be told that I'm worthy of the promotion. I'm waiting to be asked to be married. So, you know what, you could just ask you could just actually say, I would love for you to ask me to marry you one day. Now, for some people, there's the whole romantic thing
Now,
of,
wait a minute.
you know, because it's not like, because for some people, if it's a heterosexual relationship, some women really, really want to be asked by the man, and that is absolutely fine. But some men have no idea that it's an emotional risk to ask someone to marry you. There is something quite generous in the woman saying, just want to let you know, when you're ready to ask, I'm ready.
I love that. I think there's clarity.
There's clarity there, as opposed to this kind of guessing, is it not? The promotion, waiting, oh, I hope they'll see, I hope they'll know. They should know that no one knows. Go and ask for the job.
I know there's somebody listening to this episode right now who's dating someone and they're like, I wonder if he likes me. Yeah. Or you have a trip plan with a man that maybe you don't know him that well. You're like, I wonder who's paying for the hotel. Ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm wondering what this means or what anody
and you're asking your homegirl.
And you're making assumptions and this whole thing of like, and I have to say that I, found my husband, found, that is so not the word I want to use. What is the word? I don't know. I got together with my husband before dating apps and before phones were really kind of the big thing. But but I still remember it like, so when he walked away, did you see his left foot turn to the right? Do you think he likes me? Did you see it? His left foot turned to the right when he walked away. Did you see how he crossed the road? And then he looked back. Did you see that? I think he likes me. Does he like me? And it's like, we just make stuff up. And as you say, the best thing to do is just say that. And the thing is, even that question of, do you like me? What does that mean? Like, obviously the person likes you. They're spending time with you. I'm not sure that's even the ask. The ask is, are we committed to each other? Do we want to spend more time? Whatever it is, the ask is this worth us having a conversation around what this is? That's clear communication.
Yeah. And even with work, sometimes I will struggle, and I still struggle, with asking for more money. Or if somebody presents an opportunity, I hate when they ask me this. So what's your rate? Because I have a problem with really saying what I want and what I feel and know I deserve. And I lowball myself every time. That's something I'm actively working on. But there was an opportunity more recently where somebody hit me up with an opportunity to do something. And upon further conversation, I realized they needed more than what they were asking for. And I'm capable of doing it. So I was like, okay, I was so nervous. I said, well, and they were asking rates. So I said, well, can I come back to you? Can I take the weekend to think about this? Because I would really like to give you a full proposal after this conversation. So they said, okay. So I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. Why am I always so scared to do this? Like, they're asking me a question. I don't have to give an answer right now. Right. So then I came back with a proposal and I was like, I don't know if I'm asking for too much money. Am I asking for too much? I now think I asked for too little, but it worked out. Even though I was like, okay, well, I think that they could probably pay this. I'm going to ask for a little bit more, even though I really want this. I didn't ask for what I really wanted. I asked for something in the middle and I got it. And I had been sitting here like, well, should I have asked for what I wanted?
We've all
like
had those
that
situations. We've all had those situations where you're like, I should have asked for more, because they'll just go, yeah, it's fine. You're
they came back to
you've been stressed all weekend.
I didn't mean that.
Talking to your mama, role playing it.
Retyping the email, checking Chat GPT, checking Gemini, checking everything. It's like, well, no, it sounds too computer.
But it's great though, because I think so many people will do that, is that we actually underestimate our worth all the time. And even the fact that because that is such a powerful, I don't even want to say move, because it sounds manipulative, but there's nothing wrong in saying, thank you for asking. I'll be back to you in 24 hours or 48 hours or at the end of the week or in a month, depending on what the thing is, that we think we have to respond to the ask in the moment. And sometimes the response we give is not actually a response, it's a reaction. But when we think about it, I talk a lot about the book about counter offers. So we ask them, just say you ask for the money, right? And I'm your boss and I say, look, because of budgets, because of this isn't the right time. But your counter offer could be, okay, I understand that right now, could we revisit this in 6 months? To which I'll say yes or no. But you also could say, is it possible then that I do a 9-day fortnight or something? What else is workable around this? If it can't be money that acknowledges my value that I bring to this workplace, is it flexibility? Like, how can we have a conversation around what it could look like? Whereas you could just take the no about the money and go, oh, well, that's it. But actually there are so many there are counter offers. You could say, okay, what about this? What about that? Could I have a longer holiday? Could I do this? Could I do that? Because we don't want to leave those rooms feeling less than when we walked in there.
Right.
And that's why I say in the book where it talks about how like when you can really apply this, it makes you feel more confident.
Yeah.
So the next time when you're having a conversation like this, we're not going to have all this anxiety.
Yeah.
And just the more you practice it, the more you
more
are like, this is my
comfortable.
rate.
Yeah, this is my rate. Exactly.
And this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what you
and then
come
you'll
back
raise
with.
your rates, because business owners should always be raising their rates. And then it will feel scary. And then you'll get used to it. And then you'll raise your rates and it'll be scary. And then you'll have the practice of asking, and you'll know that the nervousness and the anxiety is part of owning your worth. It's not a reason not to own it.
What is something, I would like for all of us to answer this, that to this day is something that makes you nervous or a little anxious to ask for?
Oh, aside from help.
I would say to be specific, because to be specific, I would say it would be money for me. Like if I need some sort of financial assistance, that is something where it's like, I would rather go to the strip club and shake my ass
Then
and pick the ones
it.
up,
Yeah.
then just be like, hey, do you think you could help me get out of this little hole I got myself in? Like, even if you do say no, it's like I think of everything else I could do to not ask anybody, which is wild.
I think the thing that comes to mind right now as a business owner myself, and because you know talking about money and business, I used to find it hard to ask for money, so for people to pay for my services, when I thought about it as marketing, because it felt misaligned. I don't know, I just didn't like it. But then when I got the idea that actually you're inviting someone, it's an invitation. So I now have no issues in inviting people to work with me. It's an invitation. This is what I do. This is what I cost. This is it. It's an invitation. Yes or no. There can be a yes or no. Whereas I think before I'd be like, oh, well, you could work for me, but I don't normally work at midnight, but if you want me to, then yes. Oh no, I dropped my rate. Like it would just be this mess. But now I'm just very, very clear that it's a clean ask, which is this is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how much I charge. And the ask is, are you in? And then they'll say yes or no. And that's it. So I would say that is something that I used to really struggle with. That's really changed for me over the years. Yeah.
I think it's hard for me to ask people not to give me advice and just shut up and listen. I just want to vent.
Yeah.
I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling whatever. I want to let it out to somebody I trust. I don't want to talk about it later. But I need a real life human, not my dog, to talk about these things with. And I don't want you to try to throw this in my face later. I don't want it to be like a trickle down effect.
Thing.
But I want to talk to you about this because I think you'll understand and I feel comfortable with you. It's hard for me to say that sometimes. So sometimes I just won't.
So what, you won't say it, or you won't talk to them?
I won't say it. Like I won't ask them to do that. I won't say what it is I'm going through. I might try to be around the person, but I will just be too scared to open my mouth. Yeah,
it's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think that if you said that to me, and sometimes this is a gender thing as well, because we know that men are socialized to always have everything together and to know the answers, and that's how they are valued in the way that we're told be available to everyone. Men are told provide, fix things, show no weakness. So they can easily default into my worth in this conversation is to fix this, right? But I think for most of us, if we're actually told, I really don't want advice and I don't need you to do anything, I just need you to listen, a lot of people would just go, okay. It's like, I don't have to do any work.
Right.
You just gotta listen and stay awake.
Just listen, just listen, But and one thing that I've noticed as well is that, and as you said about that ask, is that it's so easy for us to judge what some people will ask for compared to what we'll ask for. So someone listening to this may be like,
what?
Of course I'd ask for honey vinegar. Like, I don't understand what the problem is with that. But that same person, like, I'd never ask for a raise. And then there are people that would ask for the raise, but would never ask to change the hotel room where the bath was leaking, right?
Or there was people that will never ask to, like, I have no problem if we order some food and it's nasty, it is going bad.
Oh yeah.
But there are some people I'll just eat it.
Yeah, I am not a lot, because I come from a chefing background, a food background. Food is very important to me, and I am the person. That I'll be like, they'll have the meal, and I'll be like, I want that dish. But can we swap the avocado from dish 8 onto my dish and take away that bit from this bit and then put that there? But can I have that on the side? And I feel like in America, actually, that culturally, you're more able to do that. In the UK and Australia, that is not a great thing. But for me, because I come from a chefing background, I know that the chef is either going to go, we don't do that here, or they'll go, yeah. Like, it's not a big thing. What I do know is that I'm paying money for the food. So I at least get to ask for what it is that I want to eat.
And then it's interesting because in asking like that, those types of asks, I don't know if you've ever been like with friends where you have the confidence.
Oh
in that
yeah,
moment,
they don't
and
like
sometimes
it.
people will look at you and be
They
like,
don't.
"You're really doing that.
Yeah.
I'm really doing
I
that."
like when
really
people
doing
do
that.
it. I
Yeah.
like when it's
Yeah.
I got a friend at the table that feels comfortable, and I'm like, "Can you tell them this for me?"
Oh yeah. I
appreciate those friends.
Can you tell
You
them
tell
what
them.
I want?
I don't want to ask. I hate asking.
Yeah.
Car stuff. That's
Yeah.
another one. Car stuff.
Ah.
I don't like dealing with it. If I could afford a chauffeur,
Yeah.
I would have one.
Oh yeah, me too. I don't like driving.
But I prefer, because I get irritated
Yeah.
because I don't like how they talk to women sometimes.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
car places, and I always feel like you're trying to scam me or
Yeah,
get
yeah.
over on
Yeah,
me or
yeah.
something.
They
I
are.
want the men
They
to do
are.
it.
They are though.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't like asking there either.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
it.
There was something that I wanted to talk about that I guess we already did, the role of self-worth and the boundaries in asking. We kind of all kind of just like flowed together. Kiki, you put on here, how do you recognize low self-worth in yourself?
Yeah. Like, so to your point of, okay, you need to know that you are worthy.
Yeah.
You are paying for the meal. You are doing those things. What is a way that people, or any of us, if we can think of examples for ourselves, realize that we have self-worth, or signs that somebody has low self-worth?
So I would definitely say, for me, this gets into therapist territory.
Okay.
Right? Because I think what can my job as a coach, sometimes we will go into this stuff, but I think, there are some people that are really struggling, that have depression, that have low self-esteem. And I don't work with people that are dealing with really strong mental health issues like that.
Right.
Like I might be working with people that are on medication and stuff, but not people that are really just at the beginning of realizing. So I would definitely say that's kind of not my wheelhouse. But when I talk about asking being a sense of worth, it's more that it's one of the many tools that we have in our toolbox, right? And as someone that works in the space of personal development, I don't think there's one tool that works for everything. Sometimes asking isn't the best thing. Sometimes it's not appropriate to ask because of, I don't know, maybe you're at someone's funeral and the food isn't great. Maybe it's not appropriate to change the meal.
Maybe it's not.
Do you know what I mean? But if you're going in there going, but I will show my self-worth and I will...
Or somebody else's birthday and making things about you and trying to...
Exactly. That becomes something else. But I do believe, and in my experience as well, so I'll share, because I know that Medinah knows this story, that when I ran my first retreat for women, like I had promised myself that I would buy myself these 2 beautiful pieces of furniture, right?
This is in the book.
Yeah, right. And I was so excited. And I would go, those sorts of things where you're sort of looking at them and you're going to the shop, and like even where the shop owner knows you, because they're just like, you've got a relationship. That's right. And I had promised myself, okay, when I do this retreat, if it's successful and everyone's happy, I'm going to treat myself to this.
Yeah.
And I go into the shop and I say to the guy, I'm ready to get the bedside tables. And he was excited for me. And we were just chatting, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, well, while you're here, now that you're ready to purchase, have a look at the back and see if there's anything that you like, because we've got some like specials at the back and blah, blah. So I'm like, okay. And I go out and I see exactly the same bedside tables that I had wanted to buy. They were on the counter already. He'd already got them for me. They were there ready. And I can't even remember the discount price of them, but they were substantially less. And they had paint knocked off of them and they were kind of scratched down the sides a little bit. And at that point, I'm looking at these pieces of furniture that I think were maybe even less than half than what the actual full price was. And I had all these voices in my head. You can't spend that kind of money on furniture. Get the cheaper ones. Who do you think you are to spend this kind of money on furniture? Why are you even buying yourself a gift because you did a retreat? Like just so much competing things. And actually that voice won. And I said to him, do you know what? The bedside tables that are on the thing are actually in there and they're cheaper. So I'll just take those. And he was like, okay. And I remember him loading them into the car for me. And I remember thinking how you thought you were going to feel driving away from this shop with your beautiful piece of furniture. You do not feel that way. And I actually didn't use them as bedside tables because shame is the wrong word, but I had felt like I let myself down. So I didn't want to see them every single day. Right. So I bought them and they kind of stayed in the lounge and they became like shelving for something else. But they were a constant reminder to me of knowing what I wanted and needed and taking it away from myself before anybody else did. And it was good that I did that. I think it's really good when we make these mistakes because it actually then becomes the lesson to be learned next time. Yeah. So I've never, ever done that since then because I felt like I had let myself down, and because I had to look at them because they still cost the amount of money. I wasn't going to just go and dump them.
Right.
it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that in learning these lessons that people ever really fully get over the things like, okay, you were questioning, do you deserve this? Why are you doing this? Do you think that people ever are able to get past that fully?
I think different people, obviously, and as a coach, I'm very mindful about putting everyone in one box and everyone this or everyone that, because actually we are, you know, we're human beings, so we have similarities and there are themes. But in my experience, I believe that progress and personal growth is not necessarily having it disappear. It's naming it and owning it. It's knowing this is what I do. If I'm having low self-esteem or I'm not feeling good, or what, I will default to not meeting my own needs so that people like me, for example. So once we know that about ourselves and we can name that, when it happens, we start to go, oh, there it is. Now, our behavior may not change in that particular scenario. It might just be like, oh, I did it. Why don't I feel good after that? I love all those people. Oh, it was because when they said, are we all going to pay for the bill? I know that I'm saving for a mortgage. And actually what I wanted to say was, actually, can we break it up? Because I'm paying for a mortgage, but I wanted to not
somebody
do that.
listening to that.
Oh, I know somebody.
We've
that.
talked about that before, where it's like you
this
just
is a
had an
big thing.
appetizer and everybody ordering bottles.
Alcohol and all that sort of stuff. And do you know what? I have many girlfriends now. When I started doing my own personal finance work, I actually said, was it an ask? I'm not sure. Yeah, the ask was, I believe the way that we can support women to build our own financial independence is that when we go out, we pay for our own food. And we don't have this idea that one of us has to pay each time, that we're creating this kind of performance of I'm doing so well that I can pay for both of us. How about we are both doing so well and we care enough about each other that we'll just pay for what we ate. And to just have that clean and clear conversation. So then when I go out with girlfriends, there's none of that, you pay, no, I'll pay. And everyone's secretly hoping that they'll pay and not you have to pay.
And then the other one's like, well, I paid the last 2 times.
I paid the
you
last
really
time,
should
did you
be
pay?
getting it.
But last time we went to McDonald's and this time we just went to, do you know what I mean? Like it's just like.
Last time we had a steakhouse. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's right. And it becomes performative. That's the thing. And it actually doesn't have women supporting each other to build wealth and financial independence. We're creating this mirage around what success and independence and freedom looks like.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah.
I think there's a version of that that's kind of done in romantic relationship also.
Right.
And it's
Like how, what are you thinking of?
just like not really saying what exactly you need from somebody. And we see
100%.
people have these different debates on Instagram, on podcasts, of the 50-50 relationships, and what you bring to the table. And it's interesting because I used to be like, you shouldn't be asking somebody what they're bringing to the table. But I understand it now. Now it's like, well, we don't have to be so ignorant with it. We can have a discussion. And now that I'm in a serious relationship, there have been things that have been both of us have brought to the table where you have to peel back certain layers. And in order to fix them and the behaviors around them, sometimes it can feel embarrassing.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, and then to if your partner's like, what is it that you need? How can I help you? Sometimes you don't even know how to verbalize it. And then you feel even more dumb. So you try to cover it up to act like you even more confident. It's like
when somebody could help you.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to break certain things down sometimes to figure out what the ask is.
What the ask is, exactly. And I would say as well, with things like that, for me, if I was asking someone in a relationship, like asking, I think we need to look at this thing, and they shut me down, they weren't up for it, that would be a red flag for me.
That's a red flag. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to money and that sort of stuff, because that's a big part of relationships. That would be an absolute, like, if you are not willing to have a difficult conversation with me about this, how are we going to have difficult conversations about everything else?
In my relationship recently, we have been talking about finances, and I'm talking about when you even start to say,
yeah, that's right.
Like everything is tight and I'm sweating because I'm just not good with it. Like that's one of those things where it's like, it's slowly but surely come out in my relationship. And my boyfriend is very well with, like, he's organized to a T, to where I started feeling intimidated. And so we had to sit down, and he was like, you are looking at this like an attack when really I'm asking you, what do you need?
Like, what's going on?
I need an Excel sheet.
I'm going to invite you to change the I'm not good at it to I'm learning.
I'm learning and I'm working.
Yeah. Because otherwise these narratives that we have around this stuff is not useful. You know?
And having these difficult conversations more and more often. I'm a very open person and I can communicate, but certain things, like all of us, it's like, oh, but not here.
And that's where asking comes in difficult conversations, whether it's intimate, whether it's whatever. It's actually, you can also ask, we need to have this conversation. I want to ask you, like, what are your concerns about us having this conversation? Like you can even ask that. So what is it you need from me so that this conversation is okay? And for some people, it's like, can we just not have it at home? Like, can we go to a neutral space?
Can it be a date?
And have this conversation? Yeah, can it be a date, or can it be in an open space, or can we walk? Like, I already know that I get a bit or anxious or sweaty or nervous about this conversation. So can I ask you that we don't actually do it at home in the bedroom at midnight, you know? Can we actually do it tomorrow in the daylight and we go for a walk and we just promise that however the conversation goes, we're going to have a beautiful lunch with each other at the end. You know, asking shows up in different ways all the time. It's not just about I'm asking you for a thing. It can also be about I'm asking that we do it in a particular environment so that we can have the best outcome that we can have from this conversation.
I love that.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I want to share actually, because I remember a client that I was working with who was dating. And it was so interesting because I realized after a few sessions that very, very, and I would bet that you have spoken about this on this podcast. She was basically, her whole energy, her whole focus, all of her thoughts were whether or not he would like her. Never did it occur to her that she could like him. She was in the space of being chosen by the man, not the woman choosing the man. So then the work that we did was like, well, it was a light bulb moment for her, like, oh, so I'm not just being chosen. Like she'd grown up that a man chooses you and then you're grateful and you're lucky and life goes on and you have kids and then you die. So when I said to her, I said, you know that you get to choose him too? So that kind of took a bit of time for her to process. And then in a couple of sessions after that, I said to her, she said, I get it. Like, I get to choose him. Why am I worrying about how I look for him? How do I feel if I'm dressed? Do I feel good how I'm dressed on the day? It shouldn't be about whether he thinks I look good. It's like, do I feel good? So then I said, what else do you need? Like, what else would you want to ask him? If you're choosing him, what do you need to know? And oh my gosh, the list of things that she said, I want to know what his relationship is like with his parents. I want to know what he wants to do with his spare time. I want to know if he's good when he's sick, like, or is he one of those people that gets really mean? Like, there was this list of stuff, and I said, you get to ask these things.
You get to ask them.
You get to ask these things.
I had said in a previous episode, there was a young lady, and people send me DMs like this all the time where it's like, I'm dating this guy and we're going on all these boring dates. And I'm like, who's picking him? She's like, him. But he needs to pick the date. And it's like, y'all, we are grown. That's not how this goes. It's 2024. If there's something you want to do and you want him to plan it, either tell him exactly what to do, move on, or plan the date yourself.
Yeah, because how does he know if you keep showing up?
You're
He's thinking he's
showing
doing a good
up.
job.
He's like, she loves these dates.
She keeps coming back every time I invite her. She's saying, yes, I'm winning.
Exactly.
And he doesn't know.
And then she gets to go away and say that he's creating boring dates, but he doesn't know any other information. And I remember listening to a podcast actually at the beginning of the year, which was so great. And it actually made me think, God, I wish I was dating because I would do this. And it was a dating coach who actually was saying, she was speaking to mainly females, was you choose 10 things that you want to do in your life or in your city or in your town. You choose it. So then when you're dating these people, you invite them to the thing that you enjoy doing.
Exactly.
So even if the date is bad or doesn't go well, or it's just like, whatever, you got to do something that you actually enjoy doing, and you actually showed a bit of yourself to that person. Instead of this thing where we all just kind of make up dates, let's go bowling. It's like,
And I don't like bowling.
This is the thing that my husband, it was so funny, I spoke about it. So when my husband and I were dating, he knew I was a chef and I was a vegetarian at the time. And he made me this curry, right? It was like coconut cream, sweet potato, dried mango. Like, it was incredible. And it was definitely one of the things that kind of like, I was like, this man can cook, right? It's about 15 years later. I don't know what I was doing, but something not related to cooking. Maybe I was just out walking. I just was like, he's never made that curry again.
I'm thinking about this curry for 17
he was doing
years.
it to woo you.
And I went, I was like, what happened to the curry? He goes, well, it worked. I didn't need to make it again.
He did his big one with
It
that.
was so
He was in
good.
there big
It
chefing.
was so good. But it reminded me then of Lauryn Hill's Unplugged album, one of my favorite albums, when she talks about when she's dating Ziggy Marley and she's like eating, and he's like, you're eating like a man. Like, you know, why are you eating like a man? She goes, I eat like me. Like, what am I going to pretend on my date? And then some point we're both going to reveal to each other who we actually are. This is who I am. And I think there's something in that, you know, just showing up as who we are and asking for what we need at the beginning. So the person knows, am I able to meet this person's needs? Or do I have to step up or learn things to understand what this person needs? But this kind of idea that we don't ask and we assume that people should know what we want, then we get to be angry about them and then talk about them. Not kind.
It's not kind, and it's not working.
And it's not working.
It's not working.
It's like, do you want to be happy today or not?
Yeah.
Make choices that are going to align with your overall happiness. And if going on a boring date with this man who probably you would write us an advice letter and say he's only good on paper, that's not what you need. That's another thing a lot of people will say, oh, this person is good on paper. Okay, but good on whose paper? That's not what you want for yourself.
Right.
These are just standard things that people are talking about.
Right.
Like you've said all episode, and like we know to be true, everybody is different. Yeah. We want different things, and you got to figure out what works for you.
And then you've got to ask for what you want and not assume that person knows, because that person also wants something different.
And stop accepting what other people want for you.
Making out that it's what you want.
I challenge everybody who's listening to this episode to ask for something this week. I don't know what it is. You pick, but ask.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something there as well in terms of, because some people go, oh, I don't really know what to ask for. I'm not really sure, blah, blah. A really good starting place is to think about an area of your life where you're currently feeling overwhelmed, resentful, angry, or taken for granted. They can be really good inroads. You think about, and then think about, what am I not asking for?
And ask the difficult ask. And then if you know someone who is not opening up their mouth and asking, copy this link and send it to them. Put it in the group chat and be like, everybody needs to be asking for something.
And if you want to go the next level and you're someone that's kind of doing this work and is doing personal development and growth, you go to the people in your life. Because some of us have parents, for example, that would never ask. They're not raised to ask. They were raised to just get what you get, and that is it. So the other opportunity is that we go to people in our lives that we love and say, is there anything you want to ask me? You know, the thing is, though, you've got to be wary, because they might give you an answer that you don't want to.
Right. Or how can I help you? You need help with anything today?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're gonna say back, because then it's like, well,
then you've got, if you've asked, you kind of probably got to do it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna be
so
like,
one at a time, maybe.
Yeah,
for
that's
this
right.
exercise.
Don't send out a group
Not
text.
the group chat. Pick one
Because then you're going to create a loop where you're overwhelmed, resentful, angry, and taken for
back
granted.
at square one.
Now we mad. We have 2 advice letters that we're gonna read, and hopefully Kemi has some advice for y'all.
Okay, you guys, and we are back from Indecisive Diane, and it is time for the advice. If you have a question that you would like for us to answer on the show, please email us advice@cocktailspod.com.
Okay, so the first one is titled "Baby on the Way, Shaking My Head."
I'm stressed.
Yeah.
That's stressful. Hi, ladies. I've been a big fan for a long time, but I desperately need some help. In my late 20s, I had been in a long-term relationship that just tragically ended in early May. I started seeing another guy towards the end of May, and things have been really good since with some minor red flags here and there. I wonder if you talked about them.
Now, how are
Minor.
the
How
red flags minor?
They're not minor. I was having a moment of weakness one night and replied to a text that my ex sent me about having a conversation. I assumed it was like how we always do. He would ask how I'm doing, ask for me back, and we would get back together. Instead, this man told me that he has a baby on the way and didn't want me running into him and his family. She put the family in air quotes. Without knowing firsthand. I couldn't believe it. I am so hurt that he could move on to the point of getting another woman pregnant within 3 months, especially when that was something we talked about doing, except he wasn't on the same page of marriage before the baby. I want to know how I can feel better, even though it's obviously done. I still have the new guy I date, but I'm so broken sometimes, and it's only been a few days since I was notified of it. Please help me. I so desperately want to feel better. Much love.
Oh,
What would you tell?
we all looking like, girl.
I mean, I don't. Breakups are hard. It's a lot.
Take a bath. Listen to some Beyonce and Mariah Carey. That's what I do.
Right. Get on some.
Because you're not gonna feel better.
Yeah. It's just going to be a while. You will feel better, but not yet.
Yeah.
Just allow the
Let
process.
yourself feel it.
Yeah.
Be sad. Don't run away from those feelings so that maybe you're not holding on to them for too long. The reality is, I hate to tell you this, and I promise I'm not trying to kick you while you're down, but he probably already had those ideas. He might have even been seeing that girl already. And he didn't want those things with you because he knew that he wanted it somewhere else, or he knew that he didn't see it long term for you. But don't look at it as a bad thing and think less about the betrayal maybe, and think, okay, well, this is out of my life. I don't have to deal with this. He wasn't sure about me. Do I want to have a baby with somebody who wasn't sure about me, who wasn't on board with getting married first, which is what you want?
Yeah.
You don't want to accept less than. You don't want to ask for something, somebody tell you, I don't know, and then you just go with their plan. That's not what's going to make you happy. So it's one of those things that is a blessing in disguise. He moved on, and this is a hard closure. He's letting you know. He doesn't want you to say anything. And I really do feel like he probably moved on quicker. And that should help you think, or before your relationship officially ended, and why he's telling you he doesn't want you to see them in public and do anything about his family. Let it go. That man doesn't deserve you. He doesn't deserve you putting energy into that dead relationship right now. You need to work on you and just feel sad for a while.
I don't know who be saying this, but somebody says this. It's
What?
like I don't know who. It's a quote. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. And
That's a good one.
And you may not feel it yet. That's the thing as well, because generally we know all of there's plenty more fish in the sea, blah, blah, blah. But when we're in the grief, because that's what it is, it's actually grief. Like that's the feeling. Like you've lost something, you thought something was going to happen. And then there are the stages that we go through when we lose something. And the stages will take as long as they take. And then at some point, there will be that moment of like, actually, that was the best thing that could have happened at that time.
Yeah.
But right now, it doesn't feel that way. And we can't bypass it. You can't bypass grief. You just have to allow it.
you just have to allow
Listen
it.
to Lemonade. Go through the motions with Beyonce. All the different stages of grief and pain. And turn the movie on if you can.
Yeah.
And then just pause. If you're not ready to move on to the next phase,
one, wait. Do it in stages.
do it again.
And get in
Replay
shape. I don't know if you're in shape or not, but I've been in my best shape when I'm going through a breakup.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
That's when I first started about it. Because you need to, because you can move it through. And some people do that. What is the thing? We don't have it in Australia, the revenge ex.
Revenge body.
Not that at all.
The rebound.
I'm not speaking about that at all. But what I am speaking about is sometimes moving this stuff through our bodies is really helpful.
Yeah.
So then exactly starting to move and just kind of process it through our bodies, not just through lemonade, which is a great way to do it.
You got it, girl. We all been through this. You got it. You're gonna be okay.
Give
you're
yourself
gonna be
some
okay.
time, and then you got to pick yourself up and get back out there.
Do we have time for another advice, or you want to jump to the cocktails?
I'll do one more advice.
Okay.
Okay, so this one says, help me with my lies. Oh, Lord.
Oh.
I should have skipped this one. Okay, well, we're here now. Hello, ladies. I've been a faithful listener since you guys did a guest appearance on Horrible. Oh, thank you. I'm one of your many male listeners that tune in to understand the complex mind of Black women. Also tune in for the laughs, and it doesn't hurt that both of you are stunners. Thank you. All the flattery before you try and talk about helping you with your lies. I think I read this one already. I saw this in the email, and I was like, that's how they do it in real life too before.
Exactly right, yeah.
Well, I don't know if you need help. It sounds like you got the formula down, but let's see. To the advice, I'm a 40-something male, single, never married, and have a girlfriend, about 2 years together. I like to engage in sex tourism occasionally. What this entails is traveling out of the country to places where prostitution is legal and engage with the local talent. In most cases, you can find a beautiful girl for about the cost of a steak dinner. I know this is foul, and I don't expect you to condone it, but I'm the type of dude that loves new women. Now, see, he knows the gift of asking because he's about to ask us some stuff knowing good and goddamn well. You trifling. But okay, he said he's going to ask anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, the problem is I can't tell my girlfriend for obvious reasons, and women get suspicious when men vacation solo or go on men-only trips. The more questions they ask,
Can we have more cocktails?
Right. The more questions they ask, the more you have to fabricate. And it's hard to keep up with the lies. It is, isn't it? So question, if your man was going on vacation solo, what type of story would put your mind at ease?
That is not the question.
And would not,
That is not the question.
would not raise red flags.
No, I'm tapping out.
Okay, what type of story would put your mind at ease and would not raise red flags that would make you ask a bunch of questions?
Nah.
Thanks, I will remain a faithful listener even if you berate me because you know we will. I hope your girlfriend is listening to this. That's wild that you thought we would help you
You know
with
what?
this.
Okay, so I'm just going to say something here, and then I am actually going to tap out.
Okay.
That is wild.
So sex work is real work.
Okay.
Yeah.
No shame there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is 100% entitled to do that, right? I did not like comparing a woman to a steak dinner.
The prices.
Just not necessary. And that's it.
Yes, sir. You thought we were going to conjugate a lie for you to tell the lady so you could go.
Why don't you tell her the truth?
Why don't you tell, just like we just talked about the gift of asking.
Like an adult.
Why don't you, and tell her what it is and maybe she'll join you?
Maybe she'll join you. That's exactly right. Maybe she'll be like, I'm so been looking for a man that does sex tourism. Because when I told you I was visiting my mum,
I was ordering a prostitute.
Okay.
You never know how this would go, sir. Ask the lady and tell her.
Ask her and tell us about the cocktails that come after. I can't wait to hear about it. I'm sure she's going to be thrilled. And with that, we are going to move on to the cocktails. And you send us yours after this. Or maybe he'll end up on a news story on weird sex. And she did something to you for having her fucked up. All right. So if you have a cocktail that you would like to send us, please email us cocktails@cocktailspod.com.
Once upon a time, not long ago, I was a hoe.
Now, Kemi, this is the moment. This is the moment where you share your story. I believe you said it was going to be about dating or relationship.
Well, first of all, I thought the story had to be about cocktail. Can I tell like a small? No, I won't. So I'm going to tell a little story. My favorite cocktail is an espresso martini. Right?
Same.
We love those. Yes, we love
Okay, but I
those.
learned a lesson. Now, I think that this shows that when one is in a good relationship, right?
Okay.
So I was out with a friend. It was the middle of the day and it was beautiful. I was actually in Sydney doing work and we were sad. And I said, do you know what? I said, it's a beautiful day. We were sat out in a cafe. I said, it's 3:00. I was like, let's have a espresso martini. She said, you know what? I'm going out with my husband tonight. We're going to have a couple of drinks. So I'm going to abstain. But if you want to go. And I was like, yeah, this is lovely. Drink my espresso martini. It was great. But I wasn't doing anything that night. So I just went back to the hotel room and just rattled around on my own, caffeinated off of my face. Yeah. And I called my husband and I said, I had an espresso martini, but I've got nothing to do. And he said one of the most powerful things he's ever said to me in our marriage. He said, babe, an espresso martini is an investment in the future. You have to think about what you're doing after that drink before you have it. He said, because what are your options now? I was like, just sitting and staring at the wall on my own for quite a few more hours. So that was, that for me, that's being in a good relationship. And actually, I would say as well that one of my did you say it could be a romantic story?
It could be a romantic story. Funny.
This felt like my, maybe not Pretty Woman moment, but it felt like a movie moment, right?
Okay. I love moments
and
like
I'm
that.
not actually a rom-com person, I've realised. Like, they're all right, but it's not kind of what I go to. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so it's funny, I was in London with my dad and I had just bought my first flat and we were like grouting the kitchen tiles. So like we're putting the tiles up, we were grouting them together. I get a call from my boyfriend, now husband, and he said, what are you doing and I need to I'm in London, he lives in Amsterdam, right? So he says to me, what are you doing for dinner tonight? And I said, nothing. And it was about 3:00 in the afternoon. He goes, I thought I'd take you out for dinner. And I said, are you coming next week? Like, when are you coming? He goes, no, but I've just had a look and there are cheap flights and I could be with you by 8:00 tonight, take you out for dinner, and then I could fly back to Amsterdam.
Oh, yes.
And that was it. With that and the curry that he never made again, he got me.
Those are some good experiences.
When you have moments like that, like, not that you need to find your value in a person, not saying that, but there are moments in your relationship where you're like, he seen my value.
Yeah, but it was,
That
for
baby
me, it
pulling up.
felt like just that idea, and I don't really need it in my relationship, but it just felt like that kind of pretty, I call it my pretty woman moment, of like being swept off your feet. Do you know what I mean? If someone saying, I'm going to fly from another country to literally come and take you out for dinner, then I'm going to get back on the plane and fly back to my country, and that is going to be the end of it.
Like the urge and the desire to want to see me right now.
Yeah, and it was literally just because you had to get back on a plane, like it literally was just dinner. That was it. But it was beautiful. That was one of the
That
very
is
romantic.
so special. Y'all hear that? If he wanted to, he would.
Okay. That is a perfect example of that. Shoot, he was looking up, thinking about it at lunchtime.
Yeah. If he giving you too many excuses, y'all, it ain't it. Walk away.
Walk away. Yeah.
Kimmy, thank you so much.
Thank you. I can't believe the time's over.
I can't.
know,
It went by so fast. This was so helpful. This was amazing. Let
you.
everybody know. I know that Power is your most recent book. I just fell in love with The Gift of Asking. But let everybody know where they can get the books, how they can keep up with you, if you have anything else coming up that you want people to book.
And do you have audiobooks?
I do. I read both of my books. So if people like the English /
download them
Australian.
now.
It's your voice?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
100%.
that.
Let me go on Audible right now.
100%. So you can come and find me at my website. I have a Substack newsletter, so please come and find me there. I'm on Instagram under my name, and come and say hello. Tell me that you heard me on this podcast. That'd be great, and I'll say hello. And I look forward to coming back to Atlanta. But also, if you ever want a third host, let me know. Okay.
Oh yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Whenever you're in Atlanta,
Right.
you
This is
got to
such
see.
fun.
You got to
Such
see
fun.
because we need to ask about dating in Australia and all the other
All
places.
kind of
that you
other
went.
stuff.
Yeah.
to talk about.
Like, what is it
So
like?
much.
I might bring a kangaroo with me next time.
Oh please,
No, I
a
couldn't.
baby one.
They bought. They like to tussle.
They would destroy the studio.
They
I
would.
promise you.
I'm
you did
not. I will be
you did not
gone.
want me to
And I
pick.
know Warren gonna pack up all these cameras because hell
Warren
no.
don't play. He gonna square up.
He'll
with
be
the
like, wait a
kangaroo.
minute. He might square up with you for asking him to
Right.
come.
As it, I could bring a koala, but I mean, I couldn't because I couldn't get over the border. But that would be the
Yeah.
Australian animal because it would just like sit in that plant
If we
I
ever,
would be so scared.
and be cute.
And they got claws. It's a bear.
yeah,
that's
it
true.
is a bear. It is a bear,
Yeah.
but they are.
But they
cute.
are stoned all the time because they eat eucalyptus leaves.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's why they have those
They're
droopy
stoned. They're
eyes.
just,
Yeah, and they have gonorrhea.
What?
And that's what Khloe Kardashian said.
Well,
All right.
I don't know.
All right. On that note,
Okay, I think we need to end there.
Before we go, I wanted to tell you something. You inspired me to start a garden, like flowers. So literally, we're getting the backyard landscaped, and the people that were doing, they went ahead and put down like some very generic flowers, and I was like, Kemi talked about her flower garden.
Yeah.
She has flowers like land in Australia. So I went to Home Depot. I got some peonies.
Yes.
I got some tulips and I got some daffodils and I got the bulbs. I didn't even know these types of flowers came in bulbs, and I'm learning so much.
Right.
I gave them to the guys that did the landscape. He was like, we can put them in the ground in between each of these plants.
That's right. And
so
they'll come up in the right seasons.
I
That is
can't
so
wait.
exciting.
I got some arugula. I got some onions and sage because on Baby Boy, remember when his mom was like onions and sage?
No.
So I just wanted to
I
have.
didn't really watch that movie.
Oh, okay. I got some tomatoes. So you
That is
inspired
so-
that, and I'm just like,
That is the more of us that plant beauty in the world.
Get some herbs
It's a
too.
good
That'll
thing.
be good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful.
thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kemi.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this. And you guys, I want to remind you all to make sure you check the description box on this episode for links to everything we have going on. I'll make sure to include a link to The Gift of Asking. If you are in my book club, you know we love audiobooks. I just downloaded it on Audible. It is there and ready to go. And I also want to remind you guys that we have some wonderful trips coming up. I am inviting you guys to join me in Curacao, March 19th through the 23rd. You can go to the link in the description to sign up. You can reserve your spot by paying a deposit of as low as $300. There's flexible payment plans. We're going to have a great time. And then also join the book club. We're always welcoming new people. We have new books every month. I can't think off the top of my head when this comes out, but I know that I don't know October or November's book. So I'll put it there if we've decided. If not, just join.
You guys know I travel with Paradise and Vibe. The hostess with the mostest. If I don't know when this episode is coming out, but if it's before Iceland, then make sure you book Iceland. Go to paradiseandvibe.com. Come to Iceland with us. The whole theme of it is your glow up, the journey towards glowing up, the good, the bad, and mainly the ugly, because that's the part that matters. And we have Jazz Turner, who is putting on a phenomenal workshop. So if you guys aren't familiar with her, go to her Instagram page, Jazz Turner. She's leading some workshops about the glow up. I will be first at the front of the screen with a Z, Jazz Turner. And then if you can't make it to Iceland, we're going to Costa Rica, and that is going to be a time. And then after Costa Rica, we will announce the trips that we have for next year, which I already know them. I can't wait to share them. Also, like I said, I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm also hosting a murder mystery dinner in October. We'll put the link for that in the description. And I hope that you guys aren't out here saying that dating is trash and it's boring, because we have provided a lot of activities for y'all.
Lots of activities, lots of suggestions, lots of resources. Y'all get out there and have some fun, whether you going with somebody, going with your friends, or going by yourself. Don't just sit in the house bored if that's not what you want to do, okay? Now, on that note, make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe, leave ratings and reviews, share the episode, share the clips with your friends, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye. 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 Population. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. Wait on the drive. Bye. Bye. Bye.